Hello class, welcome to Stats 1. My name is Mr. Cooperman and I will be your instructor for the course. This video is just meant to be a quick introduction to statistics and kind of set the pace for the class. So stats by definition is the science of planning studies and experiments, obtaining data and organizing, summarizing, presenting, analyzing, and interpreting those data, and then drawing conclusions based on them. Now you probably already know that, just maybe not with that word choice. And it's basically conducting surveys, analyzing a small sample of people, and then making a conclusion about the entire population based on it. There's a lot of ways we see stats in our everyday lives, whether it be news articles or magazines or health articles. Every time a new drug hits the market, they need to have stats to back it up. Every sports team, if you ever watch baseball, for example, they are great at having all these different statistics from empirical data. Stats, as Urban Dictionary puts it, is the math course that is essentially the love child of math and English and sometimes psychology. So what I mean by that is, or what they mean by that is, stats is unlike other math courses. Now, a lot of people might have math anxiety or might not like math because they don't really see it as real. A lot of times in algebra classes, the problems are just random numbers and variables, and you're just told to solve for x, and it doesn't really seem to be any real implication or application to it. The examples are kind of stupid or just doesn't really seem like it should be relevant to my everyday life. Like, when am I ever going to use this? But I think stats is better in that aspect, where number crunching isn't as important in stats, and it's more about understanding the concepts and seeing the real application. So you see stats every single day, and knowing how to understand them is really vital. So our examples, I think, have a lot more real world application. And another thing about stats, and this is one of my most important messages I want to have conveyed in this class, is the best statisticians are always skeptical of stats that other people put out, especially when raw data is not available. Basically, what I mean by that is people survey a small group, a sample, and then they try and make conclusions about the entire population based on the answers or the results of the small sample. And you see that in poll data, like people think that certain politician will win the election because I surveyed 100 people and 80% of that 100 people voted this way, so that means 80% of the entire population is going to vote that way. Well, no, that's not necessarily true. So there's always reasons to be skeptical of data. You have to wonder who's putting out this data. Do they have other motives, things like that. So I really want to emphasize that just because you see a stat, don't believe it. You probably already know that, but now you're going to have a little bit more insight when you see future stats. So here is an example of a statistic that I would call a credible source. It is put out by the National Safety Council, and it is motor vehicle fatality estimates. So they are looking at empirical, actual data of how many motor vehicle deaths there were, and then they're comparing it to how many motor vehicle deaths there were in a different year. And then they are making conclusions or inferences based on that raw data. This is what I would call a good stat. Here are stats that I would call questionable. I think the Washington Post put this one out. 7% of American adults think that chocolate milk comes from brown cows. Now, I would hope that 7% of Americans know that chocolate milk is just milk from any colored cow and adding chocolate. But now they're saying 7% of adults think that they have to come from brown cows, meaning white cows can't make milk that could be chocolate. I mean, if you look at the response blog, they do a good job of wording it, but basically it's like questioning where they got their number. Maybe it was asked in a survey that people didn't take seriously. You guys have probably taken surveys online before, and what do? You just kind of go through them very quickly. You don't really care that much about them. You don't really see a value in answering honestly or truthfully, so you just breeze through them. Sometimes, like if you're gonna get a gift card for filling out a survey, you just say, okay, let me get through this as fast as possible. Maybe you thought that the response was funny, how do they word the question? There's a lot of different ways that this stat could have been made from data that's inaccurate, whether it be people answering dishonestly, them wording the question a little sneakily to make this kind of twisted truth. Point being, I question if 7% of American adults actually think that. Another one is 38% of Florida voters believe Ted Cruz is the Zodiac Killer. Well, where did they get that data from? Clearly, they didn't interview every single Florida voter, and then 38% of them said that they believe he's a Zodiac Killer. They probably surveyed a small sample, 38% of that sample voted that way, and now they're trying to say that the entire population has that similar proportion. Again, I don't know how they worded the question. Maybe people thought that they were phony answering that way. You just can't trust stats that you see without at least first questioning the validity, or who put out the stat, what's their incentive, questions like that. So there's a lot of famous quotes that talk about these things. This one's my favorite, actually. Statistics do not lie, but liars use statistics. Mark Twain apparently said, figures don't lie, but liars figure. All that to say that you could make a statistic say anything you want by kind of twisting your wording or just putting it in a certain position that you can make your argument seem more valid, even though it might not be the most transparent. So one of my goals for this class is to help you be able to use critical thinking about what makes a stat credible, reliable, trustworthy, and then draw your own conclusions to weed out, misleading facts, fake news, biases. Quick little video that I found kind of funny. If any of you are Simpson fans, let's see how long this will take to load. Let me see if I can actually. I'm only going to give this a few more seconds and then we'll just move on. Yeah, I'll just do it the slow way.
Mr. Simpson, how do you respond to the charge that petty vandalism such as graffiti is down 80%, while heavy sack beatings are up a shocking 900%? Oh, people can come up with statistics to prove anything, Ted. 40% of all people know that. I think.
So the underlying joke here is just that.
Mr. Simpson,
Oh, now it goes.
Petty vandalism such as graffiti is down 80%, while heavy sack beatings are up a shocking 900%.
The joke that the Simpsons trying to make is that people can make stats say anything they really wanted to. So we are now going to become shrewd statisticians in this class. We're going to be doing a lot of different data analysis, looking at data from different sources, making hypotheses, testing hypotheses, saying confidence intervals. We're going to learn how polls work when election times come. We're going to learn how to sample means, look at standard deviations in a new way, and we're really going to look at numbers and data in a way that you probably haven't done before. I think this is going to be an exciting course. I think that the math involved is a lot more interesting and a lot more applicable and down to earth than maybe your other math classes have done in the past. And I really hope you take the course seriously and then enjoy it, as I do think that this is one of the most important math classes that anyone will take. Again, my name is Mr. Cooperman, and I look forward to having a good year with you guys. Thank you.